Hi everybody, Octini here. Today I wanted to go over how to add open captions to your stream. Now, this is something that I've had on my stream for quite a while now, and I've had a lot of friends ask me how they can implement it as well. So I figured I would just record this video so that I can reference it in the future, and maybe it'll be helpful to you as well. I think it's a really great accessibility feature. It enables people to watch your stream muted if they're at work and they just want to have something to watch in the background. If they have a hearing impairment or something like that, it helps them to understand what it is that you're saying. I think it's a really great feature. I would love to see more people use it. So maybe this will help folks get over the learning curve that is adding open captions to their stream. So let's dive into it. For very first question, what are open captions? Now, open captions are just closed captions that don't go away. Closed captioning is available to streams in a number of different ways. You can add plugins. You can capture output from different websites that will capture, what your microphone is picking up, things like that. But most of those can be hidden or are hidden by default and have to be enabled by the viewer. And more importantly to me, they're not usually available on mobile devices. If someone's watching your stream from their phone or from a tablet, and they're not usually available on your VOD. So if someone's not able to watch live, but they want to watch the stream back after the fact, usually closed captions aren't available for that. Open captions takes care of all of those problems. It's just baked right into your overlay. You can see I have open captions here on this video, it's part of my overlay, and it's there all the time. You can't get rid of it, even if you wanted to, although I don't know why you'd want to. So let's go ahead and get started. First thing you want to do is go either to the OBS project website and find the closed captioning via Google Speech Recognition plugin, or you can go straight to the GitHub, because the OBS project website will just take you straight to GitHub anyway. So you can cut out the middleman and go right there. And I'll have links to both of these sites in the video description. Now, we are using OBS version 28. If you're using an older version, 27 or even 26 still, there are versions of this plugin that work for older versions, but we're using 28, so that's the version we're going to download here. So I'm on a Windows machine, but it is available for Mac and it's available for Linux, and we will go ahead and download it and get started. So just download this zip file, open it up. If you don't have 7-zip or WinRAR, you should know where to get those. They're free. And just drill right down into there. It's Google Caption Plugin.dll. That's what you want. And then fire up File Explorer window. You're going to go into C, Program Files, OBS Studio, OBS Plugins, 64-bit. That's where my OBS plugins are saved, and this should be the default location for most folks. If you have your OBS installed in a different directory, then you probably have your OBS plugins folder in a different directory, but this is where mine is. This is where most people's will be. There is a 32-bit and a 64-bit folder for this. We want the 64-bit folder. This is a 64-bit extension or plugin. Now, I've already got it installed. It is right here, OBS Google Caption Plugin. But to install it, literally all you do is just drag and drop it here. Now, you won't get this if you don't already have it. I'm going to skip that because I don't need it. And that's the hard work done. From here, it's all dealing with OBS itself. So you will not want to have OBS launched prior to this point. I already have an OBS window open just because. But you'll want to launch or relaunch OBS to get the plugin working, and from there you'll go to Tools up at the top and add Cloud Closed Captions. You'll see that appear there. One helpful feature, this isn't strictly necessary, but one helpful thing I find is to go into your docs and add captions. There it is. And it will add it as a doc here, and that just makes it easier to access. From there, open up the settings for it, and you've got a few different options here. I've already configured mine, but we'll go over all the different options. In the General tab, I guess, first of all, enable captions. This box will not be checked by default, so check that box to enable captioning. Then you'll want to pick your caption source. This is the audio source that the plugin is listening for. So most of the time, it's going to be your microphone. When do you want the captions to appear? By default, caption source is heard on stream is what's chosen. Mute source is heard on stream, so that would be if you wanted something muted to show up. 99% of the time, you'll just leave it as default. Language, whatever your language of choice is. Profanity filter, that's up to you. And then output to will determine when your captions will be captured on your overlay. So you have streams only, local recordings only, if you're doing an offline recording of some sort, streams and local recordings, which is what I have it set to, and then disable native output. Lines, you don't really have to mess with if you'll be using open captions. If you're only going to use this plugin for closed captioning, which is totally fine, lines will determine the number of text lines that appear on screen. So it's set to 3 by default. Add punctuation, up to you. Capitalization, you have a few different options. You can make it all caps, all lowercase, or it'll take its best guess at just capitalizing based on the language. Force line breaks, I do not check this box ever. And then for caption timeout, that determines when the text will disappear after a period of silence. So if you haven't said anything in 15 seconds as the default, if you haven't said anything in 15 seconds, the dialogue will disappear if this box is checked. I personally uncheck the box, but that's totally personal preference. Transcripts, I don't really mess with this, but if it's important to you to be able to check back and read through everything that you said during a stream, you can totally do that. It'll save as a text file. You have a few different options for file type. You can choose where to save it onto your computer and just read through everything you said during your stream. Again, I don't use it, but that's sort of a niche thing that might be very helpful to some people. Open caption. This is why we're all here. So for starters, you'll need a text output source. So let's go ahead and do that. You'll want to add a text source to your scene. I'm working in a totally empty scene, but obviously you can add this to any and all of your scenes. You can use a different font if you want. That's one of the nice things about this plugin. If you have custom fonts that you've downloaded to your computer and added into OBS, you can use that. So you're not limited to the font choice of whatever captioning service you're using. You can use pretty much any of your system fonts as long as OBS supports it. But you don't have to edit any of this, really. The font size doesn't matter. The size of the text box does not matter. It will be variable dependent upon your Open Captions settings. So create the source, click OK, and then we're going to go back into your caption settings here. Open Captions, we're going to choose, text source. That's what we wanted. We're going to choose that source. Oh, I'm probably going to have to close this first. Let's try that again. Open Captions. There we go. Text source, and it defaulted apparently to Open Captions. So that's the text source that we just added. Line length is what will determine how much of the screen your text takes up, so you can change that. Number of lines, just like closed caption, will determine the number of lines of text that appear on screen. Add punctuation, capitalization, we already talked about that. Now you'll notice nothing is showing up on screen right now because I'm not streaming or recording, so that's why. But if you want to just test it out without having to do a recording, you can always click on Show Preview. And now we have captions. Isn't that cool? I'll minimize these. Now you'll see that the text is going way, way off the screen. So what I like to do for that purpose is just go into Transform and then Fit to Screen. And there you go. From there, you can resize it however you want. If you want to crop it down, since obviously this is taking up the entirety of the overlay, where it's only really using maybe a third of the height, you can always crop it down some. You can resize the source and it'll resize it dynamically. Things like that. Very simple. And from here, you can add it to any of your overlays. You'll see, obviously, in this video, I have a dedicated space at the very bottom that I've fit those captions into. So now you'll have your captions for all of your streams and for all of your local recordings if you want them. Really, really easy to set up. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me anytime. You can find me on Twitch. You can find me on Twitter. Yeah, I'll be around. I hope this was helpful to you. Have a great day.